We are Journals Network. I am your lovely and captivating host, Louise Palanker, here with a panel of wise and wonderful teenagers. We're going to talk about all things that matter in life and stuff.
I've been out there wandering. I've been
We're going to talk about a couple of things that actually really don't matter, but they're fun. Does anyone have any news to report? Any fun updates? Any milestones, weddings, divorces?
It was Christmas.
It was Christmas.
That did happen, didn't it?
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Congratulations. We all survived the awkward family dinners.
Well, I didn't get to have a family dinner, so.
Oh, well then you survived the not.
So you had
Not
to argue
having
politics with strangers.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we can, this will be our last show of 2016, and hopefully we'll live through it.
Also, happy 4th night of Hanukkah, panel of
Yeah.
predominantly Jews.
L'chaim.
Panel
We're
of predominantly Jews. Nice
Yeah.
eye. Good
Yeah.
good way to spot the Hebrews.
Oh, right.
The tribal members. Well, we're all a member of some tribe, right?
Very true.
Yeah, some of us are a member of many tribes. The tribe of the humans on Earth. That's my main tribe. Going into 2017, we're one tribe. That's my new hashtag. That's it, baby. One tribe, one Earth. Let's save it. Yay.
Wait, that's a long hashtag.
Yeah.
You just kept it going, didn't
It's a
you?
bunch of
In
different.
my mi- okay, I don't
A bunch of different hashtags. So let's just dive into questions. We are Journals Out Loud. We are part of the Journals Network, and we want you to give us a call at 888-531-7171. And you can tell us what tribe you're from, what tribe you'd like to join. We'll see if you can, submit an application. I may know someone. And if you have anything that you want to say about any of the topics we're discussing, we really want to hear your voice. We are 888-531-7171. And we're going to dive right into questions. Jilly, would you read the first one?
Absolutely. Okay. I've never been kissed, and if y'all have any advice on how to not get nervous when your boyfriend is about to kiss, that would be great.
So, I don't know. Like, I could start talking, but I figured the girls should start because they want that perspective first. It's just my feeling.
Okay.
All right. So,
Shanwa, do you want to start?
I'll say, yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have an advice on how to not get nervous, because you're going to get nervous.
Yes, newsflash, you will be nervous. And there are some things in life during which you cannot avoid nerves. You just have to push through them, and that's what makes you a courageous person.
But that's why it's fun and exciting and new and cute, because it's like nervous and you don't really know what you're doing if you've never been kissed before. But like that's kind of part of like that first kiss kind of moment, is that it's awkward, but it's cute and it's special. And I would just say embrace it, but don't let those nerves get to you too much.
yeah, I'm just also going to say, like, you've heard their perspective. From the guy perspective is we're very, very also nervous, okay? So, like, this is something inevitable, kind of like what Shanwa was saying, where you're going to feel that thing. So will he. You'll both be like, what's going on? I don't know what's happening. And that's kind of how it always is when you're figuring it out for the first time. Not even just the first time, but like whoever you're with for the first time, right? So, Jake?
Yeah, if this person has kissed someone else before, then they can kind of like help you through that awkwardness, and you can use that dynamic to be like, hey, I'm awkward, help me figure out this thing. But if neither of you have kissed anyone, then it's your own little experience you get to figure out on your own, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be weird and awkward, and it'll be over, and you'll think about it forever.
How do you guys feel about kind of admitting nervousness?
Super important.
Yeah. I mean, I think like that's also part of it.
Well, I mean, like, I think that it comes with, like, this relational openness, right, where you have to be honest with how you're feeling and what's going on. And part of that sometimes is, well, I'm nervous. And, that's as okay as I'm happy or, I had a bad day, right? They're all valid equally. And that's why honesty is good, so that they can help you through each of those. And Jake, you want to follow that up?
I just want to make the point that if you're going to say to this person that you're nervous, you should make a distinction that is like, I'm nervous about this positive thing that's happening, because you can also be very nervous, like in a more worried sense that a negative thing could happen. And you're still
Hashtag nervous and excited.
Yeah.
You're still allowed to feel worried about a bad thing maybe happening, but like you should make it clear that it's like, I'm nervous in a way where it's not necessarily problematic, instead of like, yeah.
Did anyone
I'd
do
like that.
any practice pillow kissing?
No.
No.
Not that you're willing to admit to.
No, I would admit
What
it.
about the arm or the back of the hand? Anything?
I've done that.
Any warm up drills,
I've done that. It's just
cardio?
cardio. no. I think before, like I was one of those kids who was always thinking about like I had all of those different images in my head when I was like around 12, 11, 13 years old. I was just like constantly imagining me kissing someone, and sometimes like I'd kiss myself on the arms or the hand. Like, oh, this is embarrassing to talk about, but
No,
It's
I
all
think
right.
it's pretty common, and I think your hand was really nervous.
right.
Will she like me?
No, but that I think I think that nervousness really it's excitement. It's like you don't really know how much dopamine you're producing in your head.
Right.
It's great.
So yeah, so like the takeaway here is that you're supposed to be nervous, and there are just some things in life where you're going to be nervous, and there isn't any way to sleepwalk your way through not experiencing something. That's part of what makes it so great after you've accomplished it is like, oh my God, I was nervous and I still did that. That's what's awesome. So, all right, the next question, Jake.
What do you do if you're straight, but your best friend isn't and likes you a lot?
I say kiss the back of your hand.
Well, I guess I'm going to start off by saying, what do you do if you're both straight and someone likes you a lot and, you're not into that person?
Absolutely. No, I think like that's such a good point because it goes both ways. And anytime there's a friendship, you, especially a close one, like you love to be around each other and you love a lot of things about that person. And so it is sometimes hard, especially, when you're attracted to like that sex to, not have like romantic feelings. But I think you just have to be honest, just like you would with any friend, with anything, and just be like, listen, like I love you as a friend, but that's kind of like where I see our friendship. And like, you just have to kind of be honest.
I completely agree. Yeah, thank you. I completely agree that honesty is the key here. And I think that actually this situation, it's not fun to be in and it's not easy, but it's maybe easier to be in the situation than if, let's say, you're both straight, right? Because at least you can say quite honestly, listen, it's not that you're not great. It's just that it's just not who I am to get behind this kind of thing. I can't twist myself in that way. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's not for me and I'm sorry. And like that's something that you can say that you couldn't say if you were both straight because,
Right.
Yeah.
You mean if you were both straight and you were the opposite sex?
Right.
So they're the same sex, and so
Yeah, well, there we go. Yes.
yeah. So the same sex, and so if you're the same sex and you're gay, you have a crush on your friends. That's just how gay people learn how to be gay. It's like they do fall in love with their friends a lot, and so it's the same as opposite sex people who one likes the other and the other doesn't. Like you just like we get back to like what we were talking about with kissing and honesty. It's just like about honesty. But as Aaron was saying, there is an easy out to just be able to say I like boys, and that's easier than saying, well, I just don't like you. So Jake.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that this does happen all the time, and I think that describing it as how gay people learn how to be gay wouldn't be a thing I describe it as. And I wanted to clear up the air that like what I think you meant to say is that like very often like people growing up that aren't straight like don't really know how to navigate relationships. And so a friendship is a very clear thing that usually in like all people can sometimes become a relationship. So that's often where that comes from. Is I think what you're trying to say.
So what I'm saying is like a lot of gay adults I know, they'll tell me that their first crush was on their best friend who didn't happen to be gay. And so you have a lot of access to same-sex people. And so you have sleepovers and you have all of that. So for the person who's gay, there's always the fear that your friends are going to realize that you like someone, have a crush on someone in the immediate friend group. Or there's the falling in love with someone who isn't gay, because if let's say, just for the sake of this conversation, that 90% of people are straight, there's a likelihood that the person that you're going to have your first crush on isn't going to be gay, and it feels like it's going to take forever for you to find someone who will like you back that same romantic way. So that was my point. But Jake, it's very important that you continue to correct me if I'm politically insensitive, socially insensitive, etc. So yeah, I think once more, honesty is our answer. Shenwan, will you read the next question, please?
Yeah. There's this guy who messaged me on Kick. What's Kick?
Oh,
It's like yeah. Go ahead, Aaron.
it's like a how iMessage and Facebook Messenger. It's one of those kinds of apps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, on Kick. We have been talking for about 3 months now. He lives in Utah, and I live in Mississippi, and we're in one of those relationships. By those relationships, I mean the ones where they really like each other but can't date because they never met. And also where you're technically single, but you consider yourself taken by him. If that makes any sense. I really like him. I think my main question here is how to get out of one of those relationships and either get into a real one or just be friends.
Well, I mean, get out of what? I mean,
she'd like to kind of get out of the whole defined as
no.
really. Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I'm asking her or him.
Okay.
Get out of what? I mean, have you agreed to anything? Have you had a conversation about this? Have you both said, yeah, we're exclusive. We're seeing each other in the first place? Because it sounds to me like neither of those things have happened. It sounds like you haven't had any actual serious conversation about this. So it doesn't sound like there's anything to escape from. And probably, just my opinion, you're probably just kind of comfortable where things are, even though you're kind of seeing something else on the horizon. Like, well, maybe there's this guy who is accessible, or girl who's accessible, and but that's kind of uncomfortable because I have to leave this person who I really like out of my potential love life, even though they're not in my actual love life. So you're kind of not really trapped by anything but yourself. If you're feeling really uncomfortable at this, of course, go talk to that person about how you're feeling, but it may come kind of as a shock to them. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I would just say, so one of the things that I think we often kind of warn people about in these online kind of friendships or relationships is that sometimes you do kind of cut yourself off to a potential friend or relationship in somebody in your like real life. So I think that that's kind of what's happening and you're realizing that, which is great. But I think it's really important to then kind of make a change, because if you are saying that this is kind of becoming all consuming, then you need to kind of be more in your real life. And I would say, yeah, I completely agree with Aaron as well. Jake?
I want to defend the point that there is something here, because there's at least a solid friendship here
Sure.
that is going to be awkward to just like try to abandon or try to push into that front. And while I think that it's like, I agree with you, there's not a like structured, defined relationship here based upon like conversations and stuff like that. The whole question is about like, I don't really know what to call this. There's even air quotes around a lot of the stuff. How do I get into something I know how to define better?
Oh, sure. Which, maybe I didn't make myself clear enough. When you talk to this person about how you're feeling, because that's what you should do, that is kind of also simultaneously the clarification conversation, right? Because it is either, what? No, we're not seeing each other, because you're kind of not. Or, you know what? Let's put a name on this. We are seeing each other. Let's talk about that and get more deep into it, right? And I think that either way hopefully would clarify what Jake was talking about, and hopefully also a lot of your problems.
We're kind of back to honesty here,
Yeah.
and it sounds like you're kind of leaning towards the healthier choice, which is to have an online friend or a pen pal, if you will, and to really kind of seek out romance through your circle of immediate real life friends, and to have this defined in a way where you feel comfortable doing that without the guilt. So I think maybe just if you guys type back and forth, you can say like, how would you define who we are? And just kind of, if you want the wording, that's it. How would you define who we are to each other? And then see what he thinks. Get a read on that. Jakey, you were giving me an expression of like,
That's not a sentence I would use, but it might be a sentence other people would
so you're
use.
saying I don't know how to speak teen.
I'm not saying
So what's
that.
a
I'm
good
just saying you don't know how to
sentence?
speak specifically how I would talk. I wasn't saying for all teenagers that might not work, but that sounds relatively intimidating for something that I would say.
Okay, so how I mean, do you agree with the sentiment behind the question?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, so
But-
what's a
sorry.
good phrasing? Because we can give people solid takeaways where they, let me back this up and write it down. It's really good.
Yeah, I don't have good wording. I have to think about that for a sec.
Yeah, I need to think about it.
What are we?
I don't like those kinds of questions
Yeah?
because they leave it like, hi, here's a question that I maybe have an answer to that I'm not telling you, and I want to know your answer first. And it feels kind of weirdly like power dynamic creating that I really don't like.
Oh, yes,
I think that a better way to be like is, hey, I'm personally feeling confused about my feelings towards you or what this relationship is, if you've ever called it a relationship before, or whatever it is. Like, I'm feeling this way is a very easy way to start an emotional conversation, because you're not saying, how do you feel? You're not saying, like, I think I know how you feel, but I want to make sure. You're just kind
Right.
of saying, like, this is how I feel. Let's
honest.
talk.
So you're saying the way that I framed it was sort of like setting a trap, and the person will like, there's no correct place to step here.
It
So
would
y-
make me more hesitant to answer.
Yeah, so you could say something like, I'm feeling confused in terms of what we mean to each other, since we're several states apart and we're both busy growing up, and yeah, it is tricky. But I think you're leaning in the right direction, and you have every right to clarify what this is and to frame it in a way that makes you comfortable dating people that you know in actual life. And I think one day you may grow up and meet this guy, and you have all this history together. So anything in life can happen. But yeah, that sounds
Well,
like
I think that I don't know how old you are, but I don't know how urgent you are to like seeking an answer of like how to get out of this kind of relationship. Well, I think that since you're definitely not like, I think we're like all like teenagers or young adults. You don't need to be like being in a stable relationship for sure, like the marrying kind of relationship. I think those kind of relationship are fine by me. I don't know if that makes sense.
So let's look at her last sentence, because she's saying, I think my main question here is how to get out of one of those relationships and either get into a real one or just be friends. So she really is asking, how do I reposition this? Jake?
But one of the options that this person is raised is maybe taking this online friendship into a more online relationship
Right.
structure. Like, there's multiple ways to read it, but personally I read it as getting into a real one being still this relationship.
Oh, really?
Yes, because like saying just be friends with this person is not mutually exclusive with get into a relationship with another. Like I read it as this relationship isn't these two people, but as in this structure we have right now where we're not talking about our feelings. So one of the things that I read about is maybe it's talking about having this move to the next level of an online relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Some people-
there's three
Yeah.
different levels to this. Yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure it was. How
All
are
right.
you
Well,
reading it,
since
Weezy?
maybe the last words that she says are just be friends, that it feels like that's an option to me for her, and I always recommend that for kids that have these online what could be a codependency that's kind of limiting your real life experiences, which I don't think is really healthy while you're busy growing up, Jake.
But we have no evidence that that's the case. And I would say, like, if you are in a situation where you can tell that, like, you're going home to, I don't know, video chat type, whatever, with this person all the time and you're no longer seeing your social, like, group already, like, if you can tell that's happening, then I agree with you that, like, a relationship that's like that and unhealthy could be bad. But that's not necessarily what this one is. So that warning is essential, but I don't think that it's, like, a key component to answering this question for this individual person.
I think the only key component that I can tell is like, because you said that right now the kind of stage you're in is like you are not officially dating, but you consider yourself taken by him. You could ask him if he feels the same. If he feels that, you know, even though you guys are not settled on any words, but if he feels that exclusive towards you as well, then is more possible. It's gonna be. It's more possible to push it to.
I have a really good
I
solution.
like that.
So you call him, or you start chatting, and you're like, "Hey, I'm filling out my Facebook profile. Maybe you can help me with a couple of these questions under status."
Assuming that these people use Facebook.
Problem solved. All right, Aaron, would you read the next question, please?
I will. So this girl, who I'm kind of friends with, posted something saying, when someone who barely knows you calls you a bitch and their only friend is their boyfriend. And I'm scared it's about me because I'm closer to my boyfriend than I am with some people in my friend group. I never called her a bitch, but I'm scared that maybe someone told her I did. I don't know if I should ask her about it. Well, I mean, is there a downside to asking? I mean, and I'm asking her as much as I'm asking you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of depends on, like, if you want. Because I mean, it could go either way, I guess. I'm trying to think, like, in my own life. Like, if I mean, they're either gonna admit to it or not. Most of the times, girls are not, because if they're doing something passive aggressive already, they're not choosing to say.
There's several
you know,
layers
like,
of passive aggression going on in
right,
this question.
and this is like a blatant kind of thing anyway. So, you know, talking to her might not be the best outcome or solution for you. But if you think that you are not giving your friends who you, I'm assuming, care about enough time or attention, then I would just take that and make a personal change and go and spend more time with them if you feel like you need to. But also, it's super common for friends to be jealous when their friend has a boyfriend. Like, that is so common, and they get kind of worked up over it. And you also shouldn't let that determine how you decide to spend your time. Jake?
I'm just very confused about everything that's going on in this question, possibly because this is so far different
We
from the
speak
life
girl.
I live.
Yes.
We
Right.
can translate.
And my question
I
is
can
like, you never called this person a bitch, and the post is about someone who called them a bitch. Is the point that someone might have made up a rumor that you did call this person a bitch? Because that immediately I'm like, that's not me. I didn't perform that action, and it's about performing that action. Is that a thing is that a rumor?
I actually
that
think she might be mistaken, and they might have been talking about a different person.
that's
It's totally possible. And that's why I kind of almost feel like you shouldn't, because like confrontation, especially with younger girls, like doesn't usually end well. So if you can help kind of by just examining your own kind of life and making sure that you're making choices that reflect what you kind of want, like the outcome that you want. But I think like there was tons of that, especially when I was younger. You know, there was this girl who thought that I had gone to the school and said all these things about her that I had never done. And she, like, to this day, like, till graduation, still doesn't believe that I didn't do that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like, this definitely happens. And even me trying to convince her and going to the school and being like, this is what's going on, like, nothing ever came from that. So you just kind of
What if she said something like to one of her friends, like, I worry that was meant about me. I worry that this is about me, because I would never call anyone the B word. Like, what if she just said that to someone?
I mean, like, I'm kind of confused by this, because it feels kind of like, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't, because it's like either you make it all about you when it wasn't about you, and then people start like going, well, maybe it was her because she keeps being all up about it, or it, you know, or you leave it alone and it was about you, and then this passive aggressive like note just stays online for a bit, even though you're not like implied directly, so only the people who know about it would ever actually kind of know about it, right? Like, they didn't further imply you. They just kind of left it there and hoped that whoever saw it would know it was them. And if that wasn't you and they think it's you, they probably won't go on about it, right? Because she knows what she did.
But what if you had a friend with you and you looked at your phone and you were like, you pointed to the post and you were like, I worry that this post is about me. Is there something I need to correct, or is there someone I need to apologize to? Like, no.
No. I think if you didn't say it, if you're sure that you didn't call anybody the B word, then you should not apologize. You don't have to. You don't owe anybody anything. You don't have to explain. If my question is there someone else or a rumor that's saying that you are the person who the post is related to?
Mm-hmm.
If nobody is mentioning it, if you haven't heard of anything, if you're not getting any kind of attitude from the other girl or other people, but you're worrying about it yourself, then it's like a lot of self-consciousness here, you know.
Right.
Then you, maybe it's because you think this post might be about you because you're really self-conscious about the fact that you only hung out with your boyfriend.
Right. I mean, it is striking a chord with you, like Julie was saying. Like you're fearful that, oh, what if this is describing me? So, you know, maybe you want to let the post scroll down and just take this as a little like motivation to engage more with your friends, because they're, you know, boys can come and go, but your friends, you know, can be forever. And so maybe you just need to balance your time a little bit better so that people don't feel neglected. Yeah. So that you don't have to worry that something like this ever could be about you.
And like this is so not the right way to handle something if
Yeah.
she does have a problem with you. So like I would not
Right,
acknowledge it.
exactly.
And if
Yeah.
she
It
actually
doesn't- it's
has
not
like a
worthy of-
real right, if she actually had like that would never be a way that any of my friends could communicate to me that they're upset with me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So like that on ground, you know, if anybody ever questioned you later and was like, why didn't you, if you thought it was about you or whatever, and it's just like that's not the way that I would ever handle like myself.
that's a really good point. A post that's public is never any way to handle some sort of social dilemma. You know, you need to just go to the person and just say, hey, I feel hurt because we don't, I miss you. We
Right.
don't
So this is like the equivalent of like not even saying anything in my
Yes,
opinion.
this
So
is a
like, it doesn't
tantrum.
warrant
You
like
can
any
ignore
sort
it.
of like you can
Yeah.
just not.
yeah.
And like the bottom line is, this girl who I'm kind of friends with, that's how this starts, right? I mean, like, if it's kind of friends and this is how they treat the people that they know, maybe it's not worth the effort to, like, you know, increase the kind of to definite, right? Like, doesn't need to be more than kind of.
Yeah. You don't need to give this kind of thing any more attention than just looking at it and going, oh, I wonder if I should be spending more time with my friends, because we know you're not the B word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Julie, would you read the next question, please?
Sure. Okay. I'm a 15-year-old girl. I like this guy and he likes me too, but he does a lot of drugs. He's super nice and funny, but I feel like I don't really know him very well. We've never hung out outside of school. I don't really mind him doing drugs since he said he would never pressure me into anything, but I don't know if I could deal with worrying that much every time he hangs out with his friends. I would be too concerned that he is going to overdose. What should I do?
I mean,
There's like so many things.
There's
Yeah.
so many
happening.
things, and I'm not going to talk until you guys talk, because I could really talk, and that wouldn't, you know, it's really about you guys. So
Am I allowed to
Yeah.
make a very quick
yes,
thing? In my opinion, it really matters what a lot of drugs means. Because, like, I don't know, growing up in Southern California, like, potheads are kind of everywhere. They're not problematic people necessarily. But a lot of other drugs can lead to problematic behavior in a far more realistic way, in my opinion. So I think that that's an important distinction is, like, does this mean that, like, he's just smoking a lot as, like, some 15-year-old kid? Or is he, like, really trying all the things and going all out there? Because that is a thing that I personally would recommend avoiding in your life.
yeah.
Well, I think do you want to say it first?
Nope, go, please.
I think like from your perspective, it's like about how much you like this guy and how much you dislike the fact that he does drugs. Because personally, I think that you shouldn't date a guy who does a lot of drugs if it's a lot of drugs. But for you, if he does drugs does bothering you, if the drug dealing does bother you, it's gonna bother you even more once you get in a relationship with him. And you have to consider it.
mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. There's this guy who's super nice and funny, but you don't feel you know him very well, and you've never hung out with him outside of the context of a very public school kind of area, right? So you already know, though, that he's done a lot of drugs and does a lot of drugs, and this already bothers you. So, like, it seems to me that there's a lot going on here that's not positive, and sure, don't judge a book by its cover and all that stuff, but that being said, like, if there's something about him that, from what little you know of him, already defines the way he lives his life that is very counter to the way that you live yours, just think about how that relationship goes. Even if everything's kind of all right in his world and he's not, you know, going into hard drugs and whatever else, quote unquote hard drugs, then you're still going to be living from different perspectives on that, right? And it's core to who he is, at least as far as you can tell, and it's very much not a part of your day-to-day life. That you're at odds from day one, at least on that front, and that could be a pretty deep front. Like, you don't really know, but I'm just thinking along those terms, right? Your interests already fairly
Yeah.
different.
Exactly.
No, that's I
exactly.
completely agree with you. I think like if you take away like the drugs, the fact that it's drugs is like obviously a big deal, but if we just take that away for a second and put in any, you know, big thing that's like all consuming, like let's pretend like he loves video games and that's, you know, he goes and he plays all the time with his friends and whatever. And if you're already going to resent him doing that because that's not something that you like to partake in, then like that's going to be an issue in your guys' relationship. And then you put on top of it the fact that it's drugs and it could be harmful or it could be even more concerning to you. Like that's more of an issue, like to kind of deal with than the fact that because you're not going to be able to convince him not to do drugs. I mean, that's not really
It's
going
not
to
your
happen.
job.
Yeah,
It's not
so
your job.
so it just doesn't seem like this is kind of worth it, but maybe just keep him as a friend.
So there's a couple of things going on for me, and that's, right back to that last sentence. Her concern is like really shallow. It's like, how does this affect me? I would be worried about an overdose, which brings me to Jake's point. I don't think people overdose on marijuana. So I think he's doing harder drugs than that. And your number one concern shouldn't be whether or not you have to worry. Your number one concern should be red flag, deal breaker, which are he's a drug addict. And so if he's funny or in a good mood, you never even know if that's actually him or if that's the drugs talking and what kind of mood he'll be in when he runs out of drugs. And drug addicts are very selfish. They only really think about themselves and getting more drugs. That it's not really within their capacity to be a caring, a nurturing boyfriend because they're too preoccupied with being high. That's the number one goal. So this is not a good idea for a relationship, no matter how cute he seems from a distance. It just is a horrible idea, Jake.
I wanted to reiterate that, like, not a lot of people get accurate drug information in the United States or other places. So, like, saying, like, I was just trying to say,
I see what.
like,
Yeah.
kids can be totally worried about, like, this kid smokes all the time, maybe he's gonna have a heart attack. Like, there's not enough accurate drug information out there. But I wholeheartedly agree that it's problematic. But I want to address the point that I don't think necessarily that, like, I don't know, building him as like a villain or like this like selfish character. Like, he's in a bad place if he's actually addicted to hard drugs. It's not so much that like he's always wanting to get high. It's he's like always trying to escape not being high, which is terrible when you're addicted to drugs. So I just wanted to paint a more nuanced picture of drug addiction as a
I'm not trying to
affliction.
paint him as a villain. I'm just telling you what his behavior, how it's going to present.
Absolutely.
Because I have been to rehab with a lot of kids that I have mentored, and I know what happens. I'm on the phone with their parents. I've been through this. It's just not a good picture. And if you already know that this kid does a lot of drugs, then he's hiding most of it. Drugs are like an iceberg. Even that you can even see part of it means that there's a systemic problem. And he's not going to be capable of putting you first because it's just not what drug addicts do. And I'm defining him as that because that's what I think he is based on what you wrote. So, I mean, yes, he's a person in need of help. Job one is to get him help and get him into recovery before he's ready to be in a relationship with another human being.
But that's not your job.
No, and exactly. That's why this is a crush at a distance guy, and let's just leave it at that.
And there's nice and funny people. Like, there's tons of nice and funny guys. Just because you have found one doesn't mean that that's the end all be all.
True. It's official. You can look this up. You can Google it. There are nice, funny guys who are not on drugs.
Very true.
Yep.
But that a lot of girls, like the second that they find someone who's nice and that they kind of have a friendship with, you forget that there's like tons of other people in this world.
There also could be like something kind of badass about this character, right? Because he lives on the edge. No, Jake?
I was immediately thinking that like the term does a lot of drugs sells me as a kid who like smokes pot occasionally and wants to seem really cool to friends. But like I don't think that's what's going on here, but that was just my mental so
Yeah.
all caps a lot.
Right,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot, yeah. I don't know. I just know that I do hear a lot about how there's a lot of small towns where meth use and
Ooh.
heroin are really... So I worry that it's meth or heroin, and those things are just not okay
They're scary.
in a boyfriend. Next question, Jake.
I've never been good at this socialization thing. What is proper social etiquette? Is it better to text or call or neither? Out of school, do you and your friends hang out or just socialize using social media and stuff? How did you meet your friends? And lastly, how do you get friends? I don't know why I suck at it so much. I try to talk to people, but everyone already has friends, so it's like I'm rudely barging in their friendship and I end up as the third wheel.
I'm so in love with this question. I just heart it. It sounds like this is like a homeschooler who's like, this whole friend thing, how does it begin? And I totally get it. Because it's like, no.
I'm a homeschooler.
Aaron, go.
I have many friends. It's
Yeah,
not
but
ever
you're
a
very easily-
No, my sister Fennel also has many friends, and she is a homeschooler.
Well, then, please describe this person's...
It's anyone. It's anyone who's just not
Are
quite.
they from Earth?
Aaron's problem was with the fact that you immediately jumped on the this is a characteristic of a homeschooler. I think that's Aaron's problem with that question.
Well, it's just that if you're in school, you see people that are like
Well,
you,
no,
and you
well,
become.
Not
but that's not
necessarily true.
like when you're younger. I think a lot of the time, it seems like because I switched schools in second grade. So when I went to that new school, and I don't really remember anything from that kindergarten, first grade moment, but that when I switched and there were all these established friendships, it was hard to kind of go and be like, okay, wait a minute, how do I fit into all of this?
All right, well, let's just back up and let's go to the last question, which is, how did you make your friends? Because I love the way they just sort of said, I would love some anecdotal information here. So, Aaron?
Well, first of all, this person is someone who goes to school.
Okay.
We know that to be true.
Okay.
Second of all, I met my friend under a turtle. Andrew, our engineer, I met him when I was very, very young. I was at a homeschool event where we were a weekly kind of gathering of a bunch of homeschool people, and I met him under a turtle, and he was the only other person who had his Game Boy with him other than me, so that was all it took. And obviously that's when I was really young, but in recent...
So cute.
Wait, a live turtle?
No, it was a giant, I think, cement turtle, or
Okay.
maybe it was plastic. But
Okay.
but the point is he was down there. And then
So that's so how do they find this turtle? Because that's where they need to go
well, no,
to
but
find the friends.
it's not about the turtle. It's
not about the
It's
turtle.
about the fact that it's about the fact that I went to an event where other people who already have something in common with me were, and then when I found someone that I thought was maybe kind of even more like me, I said, "You're interesting. Let's chat. Let's talk." That's how I made friends with him. That's when I was very young. That's kind of a more kind of childish answer, but it's still valid at any age. Moving onward, right? I'm making friends even now every day, theoretically. I went to college. I graduated a couple years ago, but I was there and I made friends there because, well, first of all, I was a communication major. If I'm a communication major, then every other communication major person probably has something in common with me, at least.
They like to communicate.
Exactly.
Like
and
to
then
talk us communication.
Exactly. So then on top of that, I am sharing a class with them. I picked this class, so did they. That's also something in common, right? Clearly already the ice has theoretically been broken. Let's have a chat. Let's get to know each other. It's about being open to new experiences that other people are also open to, saying, isn't this neat that we're here at the same time? Not in this goofy, stupid way that I'm saying, but I'm boiling it down for you, right? It's about finding things that you have in common with other people and saying hi.
Yeah, and also people like to teach. So if you say, how do you do that? What are you doing? Show me what you're doing. How did you draw that? How do you sing this? What chords do you know? They'll show you. Go ahead, Shinwan.
Well, I do connect with this question a lot. I feel like because I consider myself having some problem with socialization as well growing up, especially I moved into a different country at a very young age. So it's this is some questions that I constantly asked myself for a long time. How do I make friends? How do I stop just going to the cinema all by myself all the time? And but I think be yourself, be comfortable in your own skin, first of all. I don't know you, but you should really ask yourself what kind of relationships you want with people, what kind of friends you want. Don't just jump into this. Because going to social events or going to different places to meet people who might share one or two things in common with you could be really good strategies, but it's not the ultimate cure of a social of a social awkwardness or loneliness, whatever. The real answer would be willing to know better about yourself and be a better self, and then just attract people who are like-minded,
Yeah, I think that there's a point to that. If you're not comfortable with yourself, then it's going to be hard to be comfortable with other people. But I also think that confidence and comfortability come with time and practice. And that happens because you put yourself out there in uncomfortable situations, in situations where you're not as confident, and whether you win, that's quote unquote win or lose in that situation, right? You've still gone and done it. You've gained experience. You've learned something, or you succeeded. There's a friend. Congratulations, right? it's still you building yourself up by putting yourself out there and getting that experience, which is hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you feel like you're not that confident, then the best thing you can do is challenge yourself. And then whether you win or lose, you've still tried and you've still learned something, and you will try again. And one day you'll get there.
So what about this part of the question where the person wants to know, how do you approach people who are already in a conversation? Is there a way to do that that doesn't infringe on the dynamic that's already in place?
I mean, be tactful, but like, hi, I couldn't help overhearing. That's pretty effective, right? Like, oh, I couldn't help overhearing. Like, I made many friends in school that way. Like, one person was talking about the new 3DS they just bought. I'm like, oh, I couldn't help overhearing. You just got the new 3DS. Which 3DS did you just get? And I insert myself in the conversation that way. Jake?
That's a huge thing, is hearing a thing that you relate to.
Okay.
Building a really well-crafted nugget of, I'm going to interject with a really quick thing, and I'm going to make either a joke or I'm just going to be like very pleasant the whole time and be on and like do like all of the expressions and the gestures to try to be like, I'm a very social person. Look at me. And then either there's two strategies from there. The first strategy is to interject really quickly just so that they kind of know you, and you can then like bail, regroup, like prepare for the next like onslaught of people. And like once you've done that quick little thing, it's much more of an established thing that you can interject if it went positively. The other one is to try to be like, bounce off of, if they come back with you with like enough enthusiasm, you can have the whole conversation back and forth about whatever topic it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would also say don't be discouraged if people already have friends. I mean, I think like you can have tons of friends, and there are tons of, different kinds of friendships. And so I think like, I know what it feels like to think that everybody has friends, but you can always have more. But I was thinking about like how I met my closest friends, and I think that I met one of my closest friends in like a middle school tennis team. I played for 1 year and then never again. But we were both on that tennis team, and like going to, and from like the tennis courts on the bus and spending time together, like that's kind of how we developed our friendship. So I think kind of things that interest you, teams getting involved at school, like you'll find people who are more like you, and you'll have more to talk about that you kind of both know.
Geographical location is huge, not just because if you're there, you'll physically talk to each other, but because it seems regular and routine for you to be there with those people if you go there occasionally, like on occasion. Like, it's very important, and it's hard to do if you're in like middle or elementary school or like high school, where like you just kind of have like a box that you're locked in, and therefore all the people are trying to scatter. But like, if you can try to use geographical location to your advantage, do that.
Well, I feel like also just being open, I think give up certain level of self-consciousness or nervousness is very important. I remember how I met my best friend. Like, he's my best friend right now, like my best friend for life. But how I became best friend with him was like really kind of like a sad story, because we've been in class for the whole semester together and I've known him, but we're just kind of like, oh, I know that guy. We talk in class, but I never see him off class. But then we live really close to each other, actually. And then one evening I was breaking up with my ex-boyfriend, and we just broke up, and I went out and I ran into my friend William. By then he wasn't my friend, and I started crying because like I was just really emotional and I was really, really vulnerable, and he's somebody I know, and he just asked, how are you, what's going on with you? And he showed me like this caring kindness. I could feel that he really cared about me, so I didn't say anything. I just went on to hug him for a really long time, and then we hung out for the rest of the day, and since then we're best friends.
That's cool.
That's a really good story.
And so one thing I wanted to add regarding this is that I know it's really hard to make friends in middle school because there aren't as many clubs and activities, but I always say to kids, join clubs and activities, because that you have to talk to people because you're busy doing something together. But, as an adult, and I'm Facebook friends with a lot of people that I went to high school with that I didn't ever speak to in high school, because there seems to be this sort of like written arrangement that kind of, is maybe registered with the city in the 6th grade as to who will speak to who. And you could have someone right next to you, and it's not in the contract that you even look over and say good morning, because you just don't. Like, somehow it's established at some point in the mix of middle school that this is a person that you don't know. And it takes a lot to get to high school people to speak to each other if they're in the habit of not speaking to each other. But when I look at Facebook and I see all the amazing lives that my high school friends are having and enjoying, I'm wondering why am I not friends with it? Why wasn't I better friends with this wonderful person? Why didn't I go out of my way to speak to this person? So, just learn from that most people grow up and then look at Facebook and go, I should have been friends with this person in high school. This is a great person. Everyone needs more friends. You don't have to move in together, but just saying, hey, how's your day going? That's never a bad thing.
Yeah, just being friendly.
Yeah,
just
being
to
friendly.
Anybody and everybody, people will notice that.
Or even if someone, there's so many places where people are vulnerable where they could use you. Let's say it's a day where everyone has to give a speech. And you're walking out of the classroom, you turn to someone and say, that was a great speech. They need that because public speaking is so scary. So that's a good opportunity for you to be the person they need to hear that you thought they did a good job. Or if they sang a solo or if they auditioned for something. The places where people are vulnerable, be encouraging. Be a friend. So I always say if you want a friend, be a friend. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. Next question, Shenhua.
Do you think I should dump my boyfriend? Last night I was getting gas for my car with him. I went to get gas, but I was so cold. I was out for 3 minutes. Then I couldn't do any more because I couldn't feel my hands. So I asked him if he could go finish, and he said no. I was about to cry. He was like, so what? It's your car. You do it. Wow, what a gentleman. I have so much anger towards him. He's so selfish. What should I do?
Gloves.
Gloves.
Aaron.
Agreed.
Well, I mean, yeah, gloves are good, but also so is someone who isn't a jerk in your car.
Yes.
I mean, that's my first, it's not that he said no, because it's, he doesn't have to, but he shouldn't be a jerk about it if he does say no, right? First off, he probably should, let's be real. But second off, there's no excuse for the way he talked to you. I mean, that's just bizarre.
No. I mean, if I get to weigh in this early, you know what I'm going to say, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut and go to Jake.
Yeah, my initial reaction was this person is a mean person.
Dump him.
My second reaction was this is also similar to behavior to some people when they go through a really bad thing. Ask him if there's something bothering him.
That's a good point.
That he can open up about, because often meanness comes from a place of I'm feeling bad, and for some reason I just shoot that out of my body at other people to try to not feel bad.
What if she was mean to him earlier?
Yeah.
That's why I was going to say this, you should say, if this is routine behavior, if he does things like this all the time, and talks to you in a certain way or whatever, then this is a character trait of somebody that I would not be okay with. But if this is something that caught you off guard and you're whoa, that's uncharacteristic, then you should definitely have a conversation, because that's not normal.
Can I just say, though, in advance, no matter what you did or said that hurt his feelings or what happened in his life that made him feel sad and vulnerable and ready to snap at someone, any great guy that I've ever dated, whether we were in my car or not, always jumped out of the car to fill my gas tank. Every great guy. So right from the go, I'm saying he's not the best. Or Jake.
Your genitals or your gender identity do not determine who pumps gas.
I know it, but great
that is
guys.
a silly concept, and I want you to feel silly because of it.
But Jake, maybe her point was that her standard for boyfriend includes someone who will jump out of the car to do gas.
If
They
you
just-
ask
my
them,
this
I'm
is-
cold, I understand that. But someone who's this is the social construct, I am the male individual, I will go perform this action.
I'm
Seems
saying-
silly to me.
No, but here's the
I'm
thing.
saying
Even-
that's what they have done. That is my experiential history.
Right,
Okay,
Jake, Jake, that might be silly because it's silly, but it's still her personal relationship preference.
I know. I'm
Right.
just putting out my personal reaction to that preference.
Thank you, by the
there's
way.
ways where boys want to show you I'm awesome, and that's such an easy one. I mean, Julie, back me
Yeah.
up here.
Well, I mean, I think
Hmm.
let's see. I think that in this particular situation, it's not necessarily a given that he has to get out of the car. Just like it's not necessarily a given that a guy has to like open the door for you. Is it a nice thing when a guy does it for me? Yeah, of course. And I'm like, oh, that's sweet. But it's the same thing like if I'm with my friends, like, and I, open the door. Like, I don't think that it should be necessarily as tied to gender as we make it. With that being said, you pumping gas and then asking him to do it because you're cold is like so reasonable a request that like I would do with anybody. So that's kind of the issue that I'm seeing, is that he said no and then was also like really mean about it.
Yeah, he was mean about it. And can I also say, and this is really important, there's like a notch, and if you fit it right underneath the bar, it will stay up.
Right. Okay.
Let's get back.
Wait.
They never work.
No, this
They
is good
never
though.
work.
No,
They
this
never
is good. This is good. Let's talk about actually putting gas in your car for 1 second, because that's part of this problem.
We've never tackled this
No,
topic.
that
we've
it
never
never
talked
works.
about this. So, like Weezy was saying, you put it in, right? You lift up the thing and like the handle to have the gas go into the car. Well, there is a little plastic knob in almost all of these, when it's not broken, that you can just nudge it forward and it'll keep up the handle.
Could just be California, though. Thank you, Governor Brown.
Jake.
Gas does get weird in other states.
Okay.
Like that's totally possible. Like,
Yeah,
gas
yeah, yeah.
stations are wildly different all over the place.
That
So
is
that's
that is
Interesting.
true. But you know what? Like Julie was saying, like not only did he say no, but he was just kind of like.
Oh yeah, I
about
got
it.
distracted from the actual question where this guy was mean and just wanted
The
to make fun of you
mechanics
for
of-
for being silly about a thing.
Well, yeah, no, you can be. Jake is my nephew. If you think that he's being especially hard on me, it's because these are the conversations that we have over dinner. Like, I'll say a thing, and they'll be like, "The thing that you just said is completely wrong, and here's why." Because I am the new generation, and I know better.
Can confirm.
Stop saying things. Just defer to me. Next question. Do you know how to tell if a guy is gay? If they say they aren't, I have no problems with LGBT. I just really want my friend to feel accepted. And this is something that Jake and I have also argued over, whether or not, like, you think that the obviously gay person should just come out, or if he says he's straight, we should just accept that he's straight. Because there's no more rules anymore, right, kids? Anybody could be
What?
anything. You just can't tell from the way someone talks or behaves or whatever.
Well-
Yeah, go ahead.
There is a rule. You respect people.
Like if he says that he doesn't need to come out, then you just leave it alone,
I mean,
right?
What are the two sides? What are you guys?
So like she's
argue?
so she's saying she wants her friend to come out, and he's saying
You cannot
he's saying
make
no,
assumptions.
Wait,
and
wait,
force
wait,
people.
can I just wait, Weezy? Let me finish your sentence.
Yeah.
She's saying, "I want my friend to come out." She's also saying, "My friend says he's not gay."
no, but she's saying, do you know how to tell if a friend is gay? The only way is for him to say, hey, I'm gay. That's the only way,
Exactly.
because people
Exactly.
act all different ways, and you can't just assume anything ever. Jake.
Yeah, this person, like, they say, I really want my friend to feel accepted, and continuing to be like, you sure you're not gay is not
Right.
gonna help.
Yeah, you're
Right.
right. You're right.
Obviously, your goal is you're coming from a place of love. You're
Right,
like, this is my
right.
friend. I think this thing, whether it's reasonable to think that or not, and I want to help this person based upon that assumption. But reassessing that assumption might be a key component, but more important is just being like, hey, sorry if I keep pestering you. I'm just trying to help and don't know what to do.
I just really want a gay friend, and you were supposed to be it. Come on.
Right.
Go ahead.
So, let me just for the person who wrote this, right? Let me clarify how this may come off to your friend, right? I'm not gay. My friend keeps calling me gay and saying you can be gay, and that's fine, but that's not me. Why does she keep saying this about me? What's going on here, right? So if that, because let's assume, writer, that you're wrong, because you could be. You must allow for that. That is how your friend is probably thinking. Why does my friend keep saying I'm gay? Jake?
They may know they're wrong because it starts with, do you know how to tell if a friend is gay? That was the beginning of the question, Jake.
Yeah, I think a key component is the person keeps saying that they're straight, but also like even if you are correct and this person is questioning or anywhere queer anything and like is hoping to one day come out, they are not ready clearly for this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't
yeah.
keep asking them. That is their internal schedule, and you can once they've opened up to you about the thing and asked for your advice, you're able to give input about when you think that schedule should be bumped up a lot.
Exactly.
But now is clearly not the time for this person, if that is the case.
Yeah, and so the best thing is to just respect what they're saying and not kind of be a part of the pressure that they're feeling from the whole rest of the world. you know, especially if they have a little bit of an affect that makes you believe that they might be still in the closet. There could be like home and family issues that have to be worked out way before they're ready to come out. And, you know, so just being a friend and hearing what they say and then going and having fun doing something else is the best. Jake.
I think it was important that you mentioned the like intense cultural pressure, because it's not only like we live in a weird time where like an aggressive half of the population is like, we are so aggressively cool with this and passing all the laws and it's going to be great and people should come out and feel safe. And there's another half of the population that like aren't outright saying it, but are maybe not so cool. And it's getting smaller and smaller all the time. But like geographical location matters a lot. Like which kind of people you're around matters a lot. And like there's pressure on both sides. So to be in a situation like that now seems scary.
It is really tricky. And Aaron and I and Fennel were talking before the show, and we were saying, like, you know, like, which would be worse, like Trump or Pence? And, you know, because Pence has this whole anti-gay agenda and everything. And I was like saying, well, like, culturally, we've moved so much further ahead that we all have LGBT friends, daughters, sons, mothers, fathers, cousins. And you can't just pretend that doesn't socially exist, Mr. Pence. You went to see Hamilton. That was your choice of entertainment. And so you yourself, you know, are kind of like admitting that lots of people are gay and LGBT and everything else and queer. And so we can't just erase away the last 15 years of progress. But on the other hand, Aaron argued with, well, he got elected. So who were the people voting for this? You know, so I get it that a lot of people live in states where it's still not kind of as okay as it feels in California. Cal exit. No.
Whoa.
No.
That's another show.
Yeah, no, of course it's another show. But I just wanted to say that it can feel in our bubble like everybody is on the same train we're on. What's funny?
No, just
Are you
that,
laughing
like,
at me or with me?
Both.
Okay.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Keep going.
We'll talk
Yeah.
later.
So if there's still like the agenda that you could with electroshock therapy ungay people, then maybe that kid isn't going to come out until he's at college and safely away from home.
Or never.
Or never.
Or
yeah.
maybe he's not.
Or
gay,
maybe he's not
and
gay.
You should love and support that friend regardless.
Yeah, for being straight.
Next
yes,
question,
exactly. For
Aaron.
being themselves.
For being who they are.
Next
Yes.
question, Aaron.
I'm 15 and I basically don't have boobs. That was true when I was 15. My butt is as flat as a board and I'm extremely skinny. I'm so insecure about it because every other girl has a butt and boobs, but I don't. It makes me extremely shy and I don't know what to do anymore.
We're always just comparing ourselves to each other, right? And there's some,
Exactly.
you know, probably some large girl who's looking at you and going, oh, I wish I had her body. That would be awesome.
So,
Yes, Aaron.
I mean, you're 15. You're growing, right? I mean, like, that's still a thing? Yeah. We're still
yeah.
growing at 15.
Yeah, girls
Yeah.
can develop all the way through high school, yeah.
Yeah. So, first of all, there's that, the fact that you're not done, right?
Mhm.
And very few people are done at 15. So there's that. Second of all, you, as we kind of said, shouldn't be comparing yourself to other bodies because your body is kind of the only one you need to care about. And as long as you can find a way to make that work for you, then you're going to be okay. But that can't happen as long as you're still using other people as benchmarks when you should only be comparing yourself to how you're doing. Jake?
Oh, yeah. I was just
Yeah.
worried that you weren't going to hit the second point of your whole thing.
Oh.
And then you hit the second point.
No,
Great.
I'm sorry. I talk a lot. So I figure eventually I'll hit everything if you just let me go.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have
Personally, I went off to college and I don't have a mirror. And it's been great.
Whoa.
Like I'm not a face or a person at all anymore. And like any like body image, anything that happened throughout high school, like just doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Because I don't see myself ever. And that's like
That's-
kind of awesome. Some people like are into like, I don't know, makeup or beauty or like
Preening.
fashion and things like that. And like if that's the thing that works for you, by all means, I'm not saying you have to stick to my solution. But if you're a person who's like struggling with this, like just throw it away. Like it's not that important.
Yeah,
Let it
like
all go.
I honestly feel like if you do have a mirror, you can look at it in the morning if you need to do any plucking or what have you. And then you really don't need to be looking in the mirror because you're not your face, you're not your body, you're your personality. And you can focus more on that and not and know that, hey, you know, every body is different. Every face is different. And so you get what you get, and then you can work with that through working out or through what exercise or what have you. But you look awesome, and someone else is envious of your body shape and type because we come in all different sizes. Jilly?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that everybody loves things about their body and hates things about their body, and that's just kind of the nature of how it works. And you're so young that you have so many more years with the body that you have. And, the sooner that you can kind of just focus on the things that you like, the easier it will be for you. Because
Give
I think
yourself
that,
a big hug.
yeah, I mean, you want to kind of focus on the things that you want to change. That's just kind of human nature. And, you might look in the mirror and you see the things that you don't like about yourself first. But if you start to kind of try and think differently and love who you are, then things will fall into place a little bit easier. I think.
We're going to just jump into this last question so we get it done. What do guys look for in a relationship? Do they prefer asking the girl out or the girl asking them out? Do looks matter, or is it mainly personality? Jakey?
I'm trying to formulate a joke right now where I talk about how every single guy has yet to meet for this upcoming 2017 to decide what we look for in relationships as a unit. But I couldn't work it out properly. But
Boycon.
I get your point.
yeah, guys don't unilaterally anything, like any of the things.
All
And
of the
neither
above.
do girls. No one,
True.
No,
no one,
yeah.
no one unilaterally anything except for people who are alive tend to breathe, I guess.
What I
We
want to
do.
say to your question is, what do you like? Instead of wondering about what boys like and worry about what boys like, what do you like in a relationship? What do you like in a boy? What do you like? Do you like to ask a guy out, or do you like to be asked out?
I like that a lot. Start with what you want. That's really that's
I
really
like
good.
that.
That's good
Yeah.
advice.
What do guys like in a girl? Well, what do you like for yourself? And then
Yeah.
find that guy who fills those spots. I like that.
It's kind of like be the person you would like to know. So if you like a guy, smile at him and say, "Hey, what's going on? Let's what do you want to go get some coffee? What do you want to do?"
Oh,
And can I just also say that attraction, people have been trying to measure attraction forever. I don't know, Jakey, if you know of any scientific studies that measure
Many.
how and why we're romantically attracted to each other, but
many.
Some people arguably like symmetry is like the closest science has
Yeah.
ever come to anything.
but there's so many asymmetrical people that get
Yeah.
married and breed.
No,
So
there's more though. I'll talk to you later about it. It's-
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
all right, that's a
Science
whole
talk.
other
I hear
show, the
about that
science of
too.
attraction. I'm fascinated by it, but I don't think that there's any rules, because you could like some guy that your friends are like, "Oh my God, you think he's cute?" And you're just like, "Shut up, I think he's cute." You know what I mean? Or some celebrity that no one else thinks he's cute. And you just like, there's something about the whole package of the person, the looks plus the personality plus the expressions plus the way they say things, plus, like just all of these intangibles that you can't really put your mind around, but it's just, it all makes up the magic of each person. And so, just be who you are. And because if you look at someone that you like and say, all right, let me write down all the reasons why, even those won't add up to why.
That's so true.
Yeah. All right. I want to thank everyone for being with us tonight. Aaron, Chenois, Jake, Jilly. And we've got Fennel, we've got Andrew, we've got Matt Sigmund, who's like from Premier Radio. He's the boss right there.
Yo.
I am Louise Palanker. We are Journals Out Loud from the Journals Network, and we will see you next week.